Hello and welcome to the Knit Girls. This is episode 292. I'm Laura, also known as Lala.
And I'm Leslie, also known as You Don't Call Me Les. It is
Pie
Pi
Day!
Day.
It's Pie Day.
It's what?
It's Pie Day, March 14th,
Oh, 3:14.
2006.
Yeah, okay. Clearly Laura is more awake than I am.
I've been off work all day, so
Yes.
that
Um,
always helps. I'm on my spring break.
we have checked to make sure that we don't have 6 minutes of boring chatter between Laura and myself before we
And
actually started the podcast this time.
we apologize, those of you who got that. That was not intended for y'all, and it was very unprofessional, and we're sorry that you got to see that. But Leslie took it down fairly quickly.
It was just 6 minutes of us being super boring and grumpy before we started to record and putting on our knit girls faces for you. Um, Laura mentioned that actually one of the best comments we got about it was that it shows that recording a podcast is not always as glamorous as we think it is. And that is
Which
accurate.
was sweet.
Yes.
Very sweet. So we are going to discuss knitting. Would you like to go first, or would I like to go first? Or would you like me to go first?
How many people are there in this podcast again?
A lot. Especially in my head.
Yeah. I can go first. I really don't have much to talk about, so it'll be pretty brief.
Do it.
I have done some crafting this week, but not a ton of knitting. So I still have a couple of things that are in progress. I showed you guys last week I was working on the second or the first of the Gales Art sock blank socks. Gales Art is a vendor that we frequent. She dyes.
She's the sweetest person
Yes,
ever.
super awesome. She dyes sock blanks as well as all kinds of other stuff. Great fiber and great yarn, and so this
Lovely
is the sock blank I'm working on right now. I finished sock number 1. I was sort of stalled on it last week because I got to a point where I could try it on, and it was a little too tight for me because, like a dummy, I didn't actually really think about how many stitches I needed for it to fit over my foot. But then I got a note from Gail who said, "Hey, I need what do you call them? Samples for the booth. So if it doesn't fit, just send it to me, and I'll use it as a sample." So that's what I'm gonna do, which is good because that means I don't necessarily have to make a match because they're just samples, and I don't have to pay any attention to whether they fit because they're just samples. So
That's perfect.
I finished off the first one.
Oh, that's super cute, though. I hate that it won't fit on your foot.
It's all right. It's no big deal. This is where I added just some random rib in the gusset.
That's pretty cool.
A simple slip stitch pattern on the heel.
You're going to have to write up that pattern now because she's going to use it for a booth sample.
Yeah, probably. So I finished the first one. I actually need to put that back in my bag because otherwise I won't remember where to finish the second one. I just started the second one, and I'm just past the ribbing, so I've still got quite a bit to go. I'm just doing the same pattern essentially, simple stockinette. I'll do a slip stitch heel and the ribbing on the gusset. Nothing fancy. This will go with me to Portland because it's pretty brainless. And
there you go.
the other thing I've been working on that I made some progress on was the Shoop the Sheep.
Shoop, shoop, shoop.
I did finish the main body, but
Look at
it has
that.
no eyes or ears or a tail yet
Why do you have a...
because I just haven't felt. You gotta like sew in the eyes and then you have to crochet
You have to
the
sew them
ears.
in?
Yeah,
Are they crocheted?
no, they're like safety eyes, but instead of you using the backs of them to like punch them, clip them in, you there's like a hole at the base of the eye and you run your needle and thread through it and it secures it that way. It's like a shank button almost.
I have eye shank buttons that I used on Nick's owl hat.
Yeah, that's essentially how it calls. I mean, you probably could have done it the other way, but with as hard as it was to put the sucker together, I didn't want to have to try to figure that out too.
Yeah.
So, Shoop only needs ears, eyes, a tail,
A mouth?
and the mouth is just simple embroidery.
Yeah.
So
That's exciting.
I won't have
You,
it done next week because we'll be in Portland, but probably the week after.
you can give him to Mama Linneman at Maryland Sheep and Wool because she'll be at Maryland Sheep and Wool.
Yeah. So
And
she
it's
will be
Mother's
done
Day
soon.
weekend.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
I thought
It
Mother's
always
Day
is.
weekend was later in May for some reason.
It's always the first weekend in May,
Yeah.
I
Oh.
believe. I could be making that up completely, but I think it usually falls on Maryland Sheep and Wool.
Ooh, excuse me. That's pretty much it. That's all of the knitting that I've done this week.
Cool. That's a good bit, though. I've done a lot of knitting, but not a lot that I can show you because one thing was gifted and one thing is outside drying because I foolishly thought that it would dry in 2 hours. And that did not happen, so I'll show it to you next time. We'll discuss it when we get there. Um, this is my second Vanilla is the New Black sock. It is a pattern that is a paid for pattern on Ravelry, and I've linked it in the show notes. This is the second one, and I'm knitting these on Addy flip sticks, which are really my favorite double points right now. I really, really dig them. Because one side is super pointy and the other is dull. And I know I've probably said that on the podcast a million times, but I don't care. Plus, they come in fun colors.
Yeah.
So they make me happy. I'm totally going to find this double point later. Probably with the back of my head. So this is the second one, and this is Desert Vista Yarns, and it is Puff the Magic Dragon colorway. And here is the first one, which is finished. So the Vanilla is the New Black has this really cool heel that you actually, it increases out in ribbing on a point, and then you turn the heel. It helps if I'm pointing on the side that you can see. And then you just do the rest of the foot as regular. It does have, with the self-striping, little blips of color, but I really wanted to try the pattern. And it does show off the self-striping really well. So it'll be fine. I don't mind that little touch of green. So I lost the green and the pink for the most part. But really, you're working in the round, which is cool for a heel gusset. So you're working in the round all the way until you turn the heel.
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see how that fits. I was knitting this on the plane to Chicago and I dropped a stitch all the way up there.
Oh no.
That I didn't notice till I got all the way down here. I actually dropped stitches and then I was down here and I dropped a bunch of stitches and that's how I found that one. So I went back and ripped out those other ones, but I was not going back that far. So I'll just sew that in when I get there. It's just one lonely pink stitch. So that is the first sock, and I'm doing that in the 64 stitch size. So someone on Instagram said they looked huge, and I was like, yeah, I have pretty big feet. So they're like size 10 and a halves if there was a 10 and a half.
Yeah.
But I tend to go for 11s now most of the time. So that is the first thing on my needles. So there's that, and that's living in this cute little fat squirrel bag with hedgehogs, because how can you go wrong with hedgehogs? And then the second thing that I just got on my needles earlier today, because I've been off today, which equals all the crafting for me, and all the sitting on my lap for Humberto, is I started Julia's Puddle Duck sweater. So this is a top-down raglan. So this is the neck. And I was really worried because I cast it on first on size 20-inch circulars, which are like my favorite circulars ever. Size at 20-inch length. They're just a nice length to have. But because the needle tips are actually tend to be a little bit longer. But it was not fitting on the 20-inch. And it barely, like I really had to pull it to get it to fit on the 16-inch. So next time I do it, or if I ever do a smaller size, I'll cast on 12 inches, which seems like for a neck that has to go over a kid's head, that seems really small.
What was the size?
Like, it's like 15 inches.
And
but it's...
Is it ribbed or is it stretchy?
No, I mean, it's garter stitch. And she has you do a twisted German cast on, which I do a lot of the time anyway, so it is stretchy. But I feel like that's small for a
It does
This
feel. I'm trying to remember because when
size
you're,
6, yeah.
this is weird, but when you give birth, the head circumference is one of those things they tell you, and I can't remember what it was, but
Usually with like babies, like it's around 12 inches with newborns. And
mm,
then I think last time I knit a hat for Alice, it was right around like 18 inches.
mm.
So if it stretches those 2 inches, it'll be fine. It's just enough of something to make me nervous. Does that make sense?
Do you ever say something on the podcast and then you think, "Oh my God, people actually listen to me for advice. Why am I talking?" Because I
Yes,
just had one of those moments.
all the time.
Sorry.
Um, so, but it just seems small. But it obviously tons of people have knit it, and it's the puddle duck sweater. But now I'm like totally overanalyzing it
Well, I know
because
like adult hats come usually in like 19, 21, 23
yeah,
inch, so you should be
and they're a
okay.
little bit negative ease typically.
Right. You should be okay.
I think so. I mean, she's this is for Christmas next year, and she'll be 5 at that point. So I think it'll be okay.
I'm sure it will be.
If not, it's going to like I can cut it and do like a little Henley thing right here
Yeah,
too.
you could secure the stitches and like stick it.
Yeah, I could totally do a steek on the superwash wool.
You could make it work, baby.
I will. So that is out of Miss Babs. It's so pretty. Her Yowza base,
Mm-hmm.
which is a worsted in the Lori colorway. So it's so pretty. I got this at SAF this year. Um, so those are the two things that I currently have on my needles. That's it. So things that I finished. I totally finished the baby sweater from last week, even though Leslie didn't think I would.
That's
Um,
correct. You did. You sent me finished pictures of it. You did finish it.
I did. And then, so this week's been kind of crazy weather-wise in Mississippi. So, the baby shower was supposed to be Thursday, and then it had rained. It doesn't typically rain in Mississippi like multiple days in a row
Mm-hmm.
for long periods of time. Like, we'll get afternoon showers that last like an hour, and then you just move on with your day. But this is like Pacific Northwest weather. We've been having like lots and lots of rain that doesn't stop ever. So that had started like Monday afternoon, and by Thursday we were under some pretty serious flood conditions. And they actually closed school 2 hours early because roads were continually
Mm-hmm.
closing, and they were worried about getting kids
Safely
home.
home, yeah.
Yeah, definitely, because especially out in the Delta area, it was really, really bad. Like that road that goes to Tunica,
Yeah, 61.
yeah, was underwater a lot,
Mm-hmm.
especially over by Star Landing. So, we got out early, but that meant we canceled the baby shower. So I didn't even have to have it done that day.
Oh.
But I did. I'll show you some pictures on my phone. They're also on Ravelry. This was the Belle Isle, and it is.
It's a cute little baby dress, essentially.
It is. These were the buttons that I used. Those cute
Oh.
little elephant buttons. And it's got this Eiffel Tower detailing. So this is the back. And it's got this pleat in the back. And then, let me see if I have a picture of the front. Probably not a good one. The buttons are from, I think she changed her name. I'll link them in the show notes. I'll find them because I have like 7 other sets of buttons of hers in my cart. I have like $150 worth of buttons in my Etsy cart right now. It's ridiculous. But the front is basically the same without the pleat. I don't know why I don't have a picture of the front, but I don't. So super cute, went over really well. I gave it with those little purple booties that I made with the
With the
silver
silver ribbon.
ribbon, and it went over really well. And in the card, so this is a coworker, and he's been at our school for like 5 years, and he and his wife actually live across the street from me.
Mm.
So on the card, I told them if they had issues with washing it, just send it over and I'll wash it and give it back to them and reblock it and make it pretty again. But it went over really well, and his shower, which I was in charge of, went really well, even though it was delayed till a Friday afternoon. I was a little bit worried because it was the Friday afternoon before spring break,
Yeah.
and I was worried that people weren't going to show up. But a good number of people showed up, and that made me happy. The other thing that I finished was Julia's owl sweater, and I'll show that to you guys next week. It's actually out blocking right now. It is the Owlette pattern by Kate Davies, and it is out of Knit Picks Brava Bulky in like a heathered purple colorway. And I have actually a ball and a half of that left. So if anyone wants it, send me a PM, and it's first come first serve. Um, I did not care for the yarn a whole lot. It's 100% acrylic, which I knew going in, which is good for my nieces because they, do gymnastics and they're little kids, so they're
Yeah.
constantly moving and they need something that's machine washable. But it's not, I think it's where I live. So acrylic doesn't absorb water that's in the air like wool does, because wool is awesome. And even cotton some will like absorb the water in the air, and acrylic doesn't do that. And that's why with the like acrylic, sometimes it feels a little bit, if you're in a
Squeaky.
high humidity area, it's not squeaky. It's like almost moist or
Hmm.
damp. Have you ever felt acrylic that feels like damp or
I
moist?
I don't knit with it enough to really say. Plus, it's not
Um,
that bad here, so
yeah.
I don't
And
know.
it's also been a week where it's been 100% humidity
Yeah.
all week long. But and it's a four ply, but at some points it almost felt like it was like melted, like it had been killed, because you kill acrylic when you add heat to it. So I'm really selling getting rid of this out of
You
my
are.
stash really well. But if
The
anyone else
descriptions
wants
bring all the knitters to the yard.
to, all I need is one. Um, if anyone else wants to try it before purchasing it, I have a ball and a half left, so that's like 200 yards. So that's probably enough for a small project for sure. So I will happily send that your way, and it's in a light purpley heather. I had gotten it because I needed something for this,
It
but
would be
also
good
it
for
was,
like, baby caps or whatever,
oh,
the
yeah,
people that do caps for charity.
yeah. Or yeah, any hats for charity. It's not going to be super warm because it's acrylic, but yeah. I mean, acrylic definitely has its uses.
Absolutely.
But I like the Barocco Vintage is actually my favorite of the acrylics. And when I had knit this before, I had done it out of Comfort Junkie, which is 100% acrylic. So I'll just go back to that next time. Because this is a super fast sweater that I knit in like a week and a half after
Yeah.
I got the body done. So it's
Making me feel like a
definitely worth
slacker.
definitely worth checking out. And I'll show that to you guys next time. That was a lot of talking about something I don't actually have to show. So you have finished a tea? I'm
Sort
gonna.
of. Um, so I've been in this sort of funk where I can't really settle on any one particular craft for too long, which I'm sure y'all have noticed because I haven't finished anything in like a month or more. Um, and when I do that, usually I end up picking up another craft, which is great and awesome, but I'm running out of space to put things. So I decided I would try to sew a garment. I've wanted to sew garments for myself for a while, just to have the skill, just to learn
Yeah.
how. I don't have any delusions of being able to sew an entire
And you were going to
wardrobe,
take
but
some creative bug classes, right?
yes, and I've actually added a couple of the creative bug garment sewing classes to my library, so that's awesome. But
Mm.
I wanted to do something super simple to start with because I figure if I succeed at something simple, it'll give me confidence to go to something more difficult, right?
Yeah.
So I started with, there's a company called Patterns for Pirates, and she does,
That is an
right?
awesome name for a pattern
So
company.
this is sewn garments, and she does patterns for a really wide range of sizes, like extra small to 3 extra large,
Oh, wow.
and lots of options for each thing. Like she has a tank top one where she gives you options for like a racer back or a regular back or a scoop bottom or like a tunic bottom or all these different kinds of options. And I decided to go with her Henley tee to start. And I went and got some fabric from Joanne. I got this like red knit fabric because red, right? Well, they don't want my bag. And it was relatively simple. It was 4 pieces for the front, back, 2 sleeves, and then a couple pieces for the placket, the Henley placket, and the collar. So I've mostly finished it. I think I need to redo the collar because, okay, I'll just show. So this is what it looks like.
I think it looks pretty good.
I did learn how to do a placket, how to sew buttonholes with my machine.
Oh, look at those.
So that's the first. I haven't actually cut them yet because I didn't get that far, but it's not super neat. Like, it's a little bit bulky in some spots where I couldn't quite figure out what it was she wanted you to do because the pictures weren't like superhumanly clear.
It's hard to when you're using photo tutorials sometimes. It's really hard.
But the collar is not quite as snug as it could be.
Do you have a bacon collar?
A bacon collar? What is that?
Yeah, right.
Oh, a little bit, yeah. And when I put it on to try it on, it does actually fit, which is positive. But the collar, like, it should be a little snugger. So I think what I have to do is take the collar off and then slightly stretch the collar as I'm stitching it on, so that when I'm done, and I cut, the thread or whatever, the shirt lays flat because it wasn't stretched at all, but the collar is slightly stretched, because otherwise it just is a little too floppy.
I feel like Gigi talked about that on the Knitmore Girls at some point. You might want to search their old episodes.
That's a big catalog of old episodes.
No. You can they do awesome show notes.
Okay.
And you can just search their show notes for collar, maybe?
Yeah.
Or, I don't know.
Go back and look. I did learn a lot, though. I mean, like I said, I learned how to do the buttonhole on the machine. I learned how to use the twin needle for the first time. So I've got
What's a twin needle?
It's 2 needles.
What?
It's a post that instead of having a single needle has 2 needles. It gives you like a more professional looking finish.
That's pretty awesome.
So I learned how to do that. That was the first time I had done that. This is actually the first time I've sewn with a knit fabric. And they can be sort of testy because if you stretch them, you have to make sure you're cutting the fabric on the grain with the right direction of stretch and all that other crap. So, and I did a low scoop bottom.
Look at that.
Because
you should finish that so that you can wear it to Portland.
No, well, that was the idea, but I have to fiddle with the collar tonight.
And then you should make me one so that we can be twinsies.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I don't have time for that. Because after editing tonight and work tomorrow, I have like a spare hour in which I have to pack.
Yeah.
So that's not going to happen.
So you're just taking, wait, I'm backing up. I'm backing way, way up. This is my time turner episode. So you're just taking those Gales Art blank socks with you?
And then the Rachel Coopy penny crest socks, probably.
Okay.
Although I am now thinking, because, what would it be? It wouldn't be the Knit Girls if there wasn't some crazy in there, but,
Are you thinking about bringing a spinning wheel? Because I totally was.
No. But I don't spin as much as you, so.
There was a thought in my head that I was like, man, I really want to get some spinning done this week. I should bring a spinning wheel to Portland.
Yeah, that's a little bit crazy. I was thinking I might cast on a Nuvum.
Ooh.
Because it's in the round,
Yeah.
And I have a couple of different options that are essentially 50% silk that I can't really use for anything else because of the drape.
Well, you could use it for other shawls.
Well, yeah, but I have like 2,000 yards of both of these lots, so.
Some very large shawls.
Yeah. So I might bring a skein and needles for that just in case.
It'd be fun.
But that's pretty much it.
Okay. I did forget to mention on my Belle Isle, because I was trying to finish it super quickly, instead of picking up stitches on the sleeves and then knitting 3 rows and binding them off, I just crocheted. I crocheted. There's photographic proof on Instagram of that. So I just did like where you go through the stitch and then you wrap it around and then you go through. I just did that.
Slip stitch?
Yeah, around. Sure. So that made me super happy because I had a pretty hand-turned crochet hook that I bought a while back for no apparent reason. But I crocheted. So there. Learning all the things this spring. It's been fun. Oh, I've been spinning. Speaking of spinning, my obsession with spinning. So this is the first half of the fiber that I'm spinning for our Patreon winner for the hand spun. So it is, and she's on Instagram and she's the sweetest ever. This is Southern Cross Fiber on BFL. And it's really, really pretty.
It's turning out really nice.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. This lot of BFL, David, when it was processed before he dyed it, it had a little bit of issues, and he offered, like, best customer service ever. He offered to replace it, but that was like 2014, and I'm just getting around to spinning it now, and it's really not terrible. It's got some shortcuts every once in a while, and it's just not up to his amazingly high standards, because David is amazing to buy fiber from. So I'm enjoying spinning it, and when it's finished, if I don't like it, I reserve the right to spin something else for her. Because I want, I like when I send hand spin out into the wild, I like for it to be fairly perfect. Which is why I can't sell hand spun. So we do have a question from Mimi Fan.
Mimi Fan?
It's for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
It's about finishing cross-stitching. So Leslie has mentioned sending her cross-stitching out for professional framing. What does that entail? I assumed Michael's type stores would be able to handle this. Can you give an idea of cost? I'm a new cross-stitcher and have no idea what to do with future cross-stitching. Thanks.
So the first piece of advice I would give is try to pay attention to the finished size when you decide on a pattern. Most patterns will tell you you're purchasing this pattern, the finished size is this by this, right? Mm-hmm. So the best advice I can give you is pay attention to that size and try to get something that's
frameable size,
yes,
like
that easily
already
fits
has a frame.
Into like a 4x6 or a 5x7. It doesn't necessarily have to be exactly that size, but if the proportions are similar, you know, like 3 3/4 by 5 3/4 would fit in a 4x6 fine because it would just be slightly smaller. I would say.
So walk me through for a second. When you finish a large, like a 5x7 cross stitch piece, is like when you finish yarn or when you finish a project, like we block knitting projects and crochet projects, I would assume.
Right.
And you block weaving, you hardcore block weaving projects usually. How do you finish not crochet? How do you finish cross stitch? There we go.
I can't tell you the time-tested professional way. I do it the same way I generally do knitting, is like I gently soak it in warm, like tending towards cooler water, especially if it's embroidery that I've used like the disappearing ink pen on or whatever, where I need to get that color off.
Because I've seen like Palette PC uses that pen a lot, so you have to wash it at that point. It's got to be washable.
Plus, just like any knitting, the thread's going to relax and settle if you get it wet and then you lay it out and air it to dry. The cross stitch especially it's not going to grow. I mean, you can't stretch it. It's what it is what it is.
Well, because it's on woven fabric, right? Okay.
And generally speaking, the same for embroidery, because it's on a woven, most fabric is woven fabric unless it's a knit. And if you're cross-stitching or you're embroidering, you're essentially, it's loops, and those loops are already created. They're not going to stretch any, right? So usually I do a very simple wet block. I lay it out to dry, and then if I'm not sure about whether or not it's going to fit into a frame, I'll usually take a piece of cardboard and cut it to about the size that my cross stitch is,
Uh-huh.
and then I'll go to Michael's and kind of plug it into frames and see where it
Oh,
would
that's
work.
super smart.
Um, Again, the best opposite advice I can give is try to make sure it's already going to fit in one of those sizes. And most cross stitchers,
Designers, yeah.
yeah, designers do, or they'll set it up in such a way that it fits in a hoop, like an embroidery hoop.
Yeah.
Which is also a great option. But if you have to get it custom framed, if it's something one-off, Michael's, some Joann's have custom framing centers, mine doesn't. But I've only had something custom framed once, and it's this time that I dropped it off. And with all the discounts and all that crap, you know,
Because they typically have 50% off coupons.
50 or
always.
60%, and then that's off the top of whatever sales they've got on their, you know, framing supplies as well. So I don't know what's going on upstairs.
You've got giants in your house.
Apparently, I've got like wrestling ninjas or something up there. So it
Ninjas would be quieter.
It cost me, I want to say like $26 this time to get something custom framed, but it was small. And also, it was not, like, the frame wasn't super ornate. I didn't want anything, like, crazy fancy. I picked a pretty simple black frame, and it looked like the frame itself, design, looked like cross-stitch almost. Like, it had that, like, woven look to it, which was kind of cool. But if you had to pay full price, it would probably be closer to $50. Never pay full price for that, because if you don't have a coupon in your, like, a local newspaper or whatever, you can probably get one on your phone.
Yep, they have apps that you can download, both Michael's and Joann's. And I'm sure, like, AC Moore or other craft stores, big box craft stores.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's also, like, independently owned custom framing shops, too.
And I also don't like to put glass on top of my cross stitches or embroidered pieces. I just don't like it. I feel like, you know, when you go to a museum and you see something, you know, like a beautiful piece of artwork, and you can see the layers in the acrylic paint, and it makes you want to touch it, but you can't touch it, right? That's against the rules.
Against,
you know, I get it,
museum
right?
rules, yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like, you know,
that's
I
surprising
always
to
want
me,
to touch
because you have a 12-year-old boy that I could see
who has
having
zero
dirty hands.
interest in anything that I do, and he's 13 now.
Oh, that's right. He just had a birthday.
Yeah. I always use the glass as, like, it goes behind the cross stitch to give it something firm to sit against.
Interesting.
So, anyway, I talked for a long time about that, so I'm done.
Okay. Are you done? Are you sure? I have nothing to say about that topic at all. Also, I'm pretty worthless on that. We do have, what I'm not worthless at, though, we do have a wonderful book to review. It is Masterpiece Knits by Dragonfly Fibers. You can order it on their website for $26.95 as the actual physical copy, which also includes a code for an ebook download on Ravelry. Or you can purchase just the PDF as a standalone for $18. This book is really, really interesting. The lovely folks at Dragonfly Fibers, and they are really, really sweet. They have some gorgeous hand-dyed yarn. So what this book does is it utilizes their hand-dyed yarn in patterns, and everything is inspired by visual arts. So whether it's paintings or...
Right, so they take...
a lot of paintings.
They take art, generally paintings, and they create a colorway, and then they pair with a designer to find a way to express either the idea of the art into a pattern, which Ann Weaver does really well later, we'll talk about, or they use the inspired yarn to create a pattern that would sort of work in that type of painting for the time period or what have you. It's a good way of how different artists or designers interpret things differently. I think it's a
Yeah.
cool concept.
So the first piece is Fractal Poppies. It's by Toby
Mm-hmm.
Roxanne, who I love her stuff anyways, and it's inspired by Georgia O'Keeffe's Oriental Poppies,
Mm-hmm.
which is a super famous painting. So the way that this works is obviously the color is very reminiscent of poppies, but also the edge is trimmed to roll on purpose to look like flower petals.
Yeah, and it's sort of
It
an organic design.
Yeah, it uses Dragonfly Fibers squishy lace, one skein in Oriental Poppies, and 110 yards in black, um, and size 5 needles. Very simplistic to show off that variegated yarn really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Look at me, I got my iPad working
You're
with
so
the
fancy.
laptop. I am. I changed my lighting a little bit, which is not flattering to me, but it's super flattering for the iPad. So sometimes you got to make it work. So it's really, really interesting. And then she's got a quote about fractals, Toby Roxanne does, about fractals found in nature and how that impacts her design. So really, really interesting. The only thing I wish is because I'm not familiar with every single one of these pictures,
Mm-hmm.
I wish, and this is an ebook, I wish that there was a link to a photograph of the visual art piece,
Right. And
which is
because,
hard to do.
yeah, because of legal and copyright and all
Yeah,
that.
but I
Um,
wish that it was there.
I do like the Blue Morning Glories by Fatima Hines, which is a reference to a Georgia O'Keeffe painting. And I like how she uses the cables and
Yeah, on that
the
front.
design to give it sort of a feminine kind of shape to it.
Hmm.
The sizing is also generous. It
With
goes from
32 up to 56.
hmm and the fiber, the yarn is interesting. It's 100% silk noil fiber. I've never
Yeah.
knit with silk noil
It's gonna have
fiber.
a lot of drape. It's a fingering
Hmm
weight, but lots and lots of drape and shine to it. I like the overall concept of it. The waviness on the collar is not my absolute favorite. I'd love to, but I would just edge that with the rib, the twisted rib that you see throughout the pattern,
hmm You
and
could do
that
it
probably
the
be
same way it's done in the
something.
back, where it
Yeah.
doesn't have that center raised portion. You could.
Well, I think the center raised portion's raised because of the cable, because cables naturally tend to raise,
Hmm
I feel like. But you could easily like change that a little bit by adding ribbing, not ribbon. Oh my. There is a great schematic in here that shows you everything that you need to know. We do like schematics. I'm not seeing anything about ease,
No, it doesn't really give you that.
but
Um,
overall a nice flattering piece, especially in that model. It fits the model well, and it
hmm
fits the model with the attention being drawn to the piece, not with a lot of craziness going on,
right.
over accessorizing.
Yeah.
Next,
The next up is Picasso socks, also by Fatima Hines.
and these are unisex socks, based on Picasso's something Mediterranean, um, which
Yes,
is a graphic all over pattern. See that one? That's not a painting that I'm familiar with,
me either.
but the sock, the yarn itself is absolutely gorgeous, and you can see that it's got almost a wave detail,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's a lot of
mirrored.
first stockinette that's mirrored.
hmm Yeah, it's reverse stockinette on the top, but on the soles of the feet,
I
it's a
love the soles.
standard
Yeah,
stockinette.
love how that looks.
hmm
That's very pretty yarn, and it's cool how the reverse stockinette with the moving stitches really breaks up, because that could pool, as you see on the bottom. It could really pool, but that totally breaks it up,
Yeah,
which
I
is
think
interesting.
yeah, it does it really well.
They really use hand-dyed yarns well in this book. There's another sock pattern that is a knee sock pattern that is Clee's knees.
hmm Based on Fire in the Evening by Paul Klee.
And then after that, There are a pair of mitts. I really like these mitts, actually. They're the golden landscape mitts.
There's a matching hat pattern as well.
And they also use reverse stockinette with, it looks like a slip stitch detail that's also moving cabled around. It reminds me of like lollipops, like a lollipop forest. It's very cool. Nice thumb gusset shaping. And even the palms of the mitts have some detailing on them.
Yeah.
It's a little bit unusual. I like it though.
I like that it fits in with the landscape theme of the art. I think that's a nice nod to it. Morning at the Tate by Meg Roke. This is also an O'Keeffe painting, but it's more about modernism. And I think it's cool this is how this was interpreted with the artwork. So the art is big sort of blocks of irregular color.
And you can definitely see that.
Yeah, and so in the pattern, you can see it pretty well with the big blocks of irregular color that are worked in with intarsia.
It's a good use of solids with a variegated or hand painted yarn.
I think it's a cool nod to the more geometric kind of modern
feel. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Then there's Marilyn in Color, which is based on Andy Warhol, of course. It is a cow, and it's by Tanis Gray.
And I think the colors are spot on. As soon as I see those colors, I know exactly
where it came from. Yep.
And that's purely on Dragonfly. They did a great job of interpreting. But I also think that because of the way that particular art is done in big blocks of color with Marilyn's face, I think that it could have been really muddied if the pattern wasn't done the way that it was done.
Oh yeah,
I think
really,
with the separation of the colors, and each has its own sort of pattern, I thought that was really thoughtfully done.
And that would be a great pattern to use up leftovers of sock yarn if you have a bunch of leftovers. Not necessarily in those colors, but of solids that uses 185 yards of the main color, then 42 and 97. So great for leftovers if you have a bunch sitting around, and a great kit concept as well. Nice clear chart, of course.
Yep.
And really, really pretty. The next one I really, really like. It is the Sugar Shack Tunic. By Ann Weaver. It is inspired by Ernie Barnes' Sugar Shack, which I don't think I've ever seen.
I don't think I've seen that either.
But it is really, so it's hard to do garments well in hand-dyed yarn, and Ann Weaver always does garments well.
Oh yeah.
In hand-dyed yarn. So that is the back with that low V. And then the front,
I almost feel like this could be reversed depending on your mood.
Oh yeah, definitely. With a cami or something underneath it. And then there's the front.
The sizing is pretty nice on this tunic as well. It goes from 36 to a 50-inch bust circumference. But because of the simple patterning, the simple stockinette, it would be pretty easy to modify.
And it looks like it's got dolman sleeves almost. But it's worked in one piece from the top down. The sleeves and body are knit contiguously to the underarms. And then they're separate, so you just keep increasing it. Almost like a raglan, but it doesn't look, when she stands like this, it almost looks like more of a dolman style.
Right.
So really, really interesting. And because it's going over such a big block in the upper part, it's narrower stripes of color and then larger, more flashing towards the bottom.
And like Laura and I were talking about this earlier, for multicolor projects like this, you either love or hate the flashing.
Oh yeah, and pulling. And just because it's that way in the picture does not mean it's totally dependent on your gauge.
And the skein of yarn. I mean, if it's dyed in a slightly different way, then you're going to get different results. I mean, hand painted is not machine made for a reason. So
yep. There are two hats that come next. They are the Rothko beret, which is a super cute, it looks like it would knit up in a weekend at most. Very cute pattern.
And then the earth and green men's beret with a simple patterning that would work well with a solid or a variegated.
And both are at a sport weight, so they would knit up fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then there's a poncho type piece, which is sheaves,
Mm-hmm. It's sort of a
which
capelet.
actually, yeah, it's not my style, but super cute. Like I could definitely see Eloise or Gail rocking
Oh
that
yeah.
for sure. So, and it's a nice bright piece when you have over, and I love how they have it sold over a white t-shirt.
Yep.
Like you don't need anything crazy.
No. It's bright and colorful enough to carry you.
And then finally, not finally, but one of the last three or four pieces, the last sweater, I believe, is the
Yes.
laundress.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really like this. This might be, I don't know, I think it might be my favorite piece because it really shows off the hand-dyed yarn well.
Yeah.
It's got a big open button band type, well, just
Collar
band
band,
because
yeah.
there's not a button and rib, which really breaks up the variegation of the yarn nicely. It says from a 30 to 58 when closed. I like that they say when closed because that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, really, really pretty
It's
piece.
got drop sleeves.
Mm-hmm.
It is, let's see, the size is to fit a 28 up to a 56-inch bust.
And it's seamed, so if you need a little bit more in the front than you need
Mm-hmm.
in the back, you can totally make that work, which I really, really like. It also has a matching hat,
Mm-hmm. Some
which is
nice
super cute.
schematics for the sweater. And for a piece that's as open as that, I think the schematics are important.
Oh yeah. Um, and it uses their Traveler, which is more of a I want to say a DK type weight. Well, no, it's more of a worsted because it has 6 and 7 needles
Yeah.
with a gauge of 23, so DK weight, 23 stitches, but really, really pretty. I like that one.
And then when the last pattern is Modern Lattice, which I really like by Andy Smith, which was also inspired by Fire in the Evening. The knee socks earlier in the book were as well.
Uh-huh.
And I like the different takes on it. I think that's pretty cool. This
I
is a
like this. This is super
cowl.
bulky.
Yeah. And you knit one side, one half of it, and then you do the edging, the sort of outline of the blocked off sort of graphic sections in
Hmm.
whatever manner you choose, and then you knit the other half and seam it together so all those ends are in there and you don't have to worry about weaving them in.
Yeah. And that the embellishment is all daisy chains.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
So
super
really,
easy.
really pretty.
And there's a little bit in the back about Dragonfly itself and the company and how it started with,
Yeah.
one woman, her kitchen, and some burners, and how it's grown into a 10-person company now. Dragonfly has some absolutely beautiful colors. I've knit with their yarn several times and never been disappointed.
Hmm. They've
So,
got some great stuff for
yeah,
sure. So the very cool thing, are you ready for the coolest thing ever?
always ready for cool things.
They are gonna give one of our viewers the yarn. Well, first off, they're gonna give them the book, a hard copy of the book. Okay.
Fancy.
And then they're going to give them all the yarn that they need for the laundress cardigan in Traveler.
That's pretty fancy.
That's very fancy. So we will open a thread. How about for our question for the thread, what painting would you like to see
An
become
inspiration colorway, yeah.
an inspiration colorway in the future? Because I
That's a
think
great
that's
question.
very cool. Can you tell my mom's an art teacher? And
For
I've
so
been
many
direct
reasons.
to every single art museum ever. But I think that would be lots of fun. They already have a Starry Night colorway, which Leslie actually knit with a couple of
Hmm.
years ago.
Yeah.
But I would love to see some of y'all's favorite art. Just links. You don't have to embed it, but just like a link to
Yeah.
maybe a museum site or something like that. So that is it for Masterpiece Knits. The lovely people at Dragonfly Fibers did send that to us for review,
Hmm.
and we could not be happier that they did. I really want to knit that poppy shawl. I love
Yeah,
George
I like
Cookie.
that too.
That was a good one. And I think I have some lace weight around here that might work for that. Oh, you know whose lace weight would work? Well, maybe. I wonder if Dragonfly, if I'm going to see them at DFW, because I bet you they're going to. Last year they went to Stitches. I bet you they'll be at Stitches South instead. Why is everything on the same weekend?
It's an evil plot.
It is. Because I want to see Dragonfly. We'll see Dragonfly at Maryland, I bet. We need
Hmm.
to look at the vendors there,
I
but they
bet we
were
will.
there last year. Maybe I could get some of that poppy yarn to do that. That's totally out of my color wheelhouse, but I
Very
don't care.
lovely.
It makes me happy. What are you reading? What are you listening to right now?
Um, I'm reading a couple of books that I didn't really have time to put in the show notes, but if they're good, I'll put them in next week. Uh, One of them is a romance, a regular old romance by Mia Sheridan.
Regular old romance.
Not
I
a
love
fancy male dragon shifter impreg romance. Just a plain old man and woman regular world romance. Um,
What will you do with
I know,
yourself?
right? But it's by Mia Sheridan, who wrote Archer's Voice. That I read that a couple years ago and liked it, so I went, and she's got a bunch on Kindle Unlimited, so I went and checked out a couple of those. Kindle Unlimited is the best $10 I spend every month.
I haven't been on. I took it off in like December. I did like the free trial for a month and then I purchased a month and then I was like, all these authors, I've read all their books. I'm gonna wait a couple months. And I knew one of my favorite people had one coming out in March. So they actually offered me a free 2 weeks
Oh,
to come back. So I'm like, yes, 2 weeks for free.
you should
So
check
now I'm
out the
catching up.
Audible options with Kindle Unlimited now,
Yeah.
because that's worth the
Well,
$10 a week in
my
my
local
month.
library has a lot of
Mm,
audiobooks, so I have 6 on reserve like in my phone right now
okay.
through Overdrive app, so I'm doing that.
I'm listening to Off to Be the Wizard by Scott
Mm.
Meyer, which is um I don't really know what you would call it. I guess it's kind of science fiction, sort of. The premise is like every science fiction at some point or another goes towards how all of consciousness is essentially a computer program and we're all just people in this computer
Ooh,
program.
that's very Hitchhikers.
And this is sort of a comedic run off of that where the guy finds the file that like controls everything about him, like his height and his bank balance, and when he changes something in the file, it changes in real life, and so he like becomes this, you know, master of his own destiny. But then people notice things happening, and so he has to run away, and he decides, well, where can I run away where people will think this is magic and they won't kill me?
Is it Oz? Is that
Um,
the answer?
no,
Because anytime you say wizard, I think
it's
Oz.
medieval England in the time of Merlin. So he goes
Oh,
back
King
there,
Arthur.
but not before he's already edited the file in such a way that his cell phone always has service, always has battery, is indestructible. So his
Of
cell phone goes
course.
back with him, right? So he can still teleport and do all this other stuff. And on the first night back in this medieval England, he runs into another guy who has done the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so ironic.
Yeah. And apparently, like, all the wizards from Merlin's era are essentially guys from the 90s and sooner who have traveled back in time because they're in trouble in
Are
modern
they like
times.
super geeky
Oh,
guys?
they're all
Like,
nerds. Yes.
oh, awesome.
So I'm only about halfway through it, but it's entertaining. I mean, it's light and silly, but it's
Good.
entertaining. That's it. That's pretty much all I'm listening to.
Okay. So I read a couple books. I read the new Patricia Biggs, who we just missed. She's at in Portland, the bookstore.
Powell's.
Yes, she was just there, so we just missed her. But which that would have been like the best. And now I've looked at all of Powell's book signings to make sure while we're there to make sure there's no one that I would like to see. But Fire Touch continues Mercy's journey. It's not my favorite of hers, but it does kind of tie up some loose ends with some characters. So she published a series of short stories that I had actually listened to on Audible probably a year back. And so it ties up a lot of loose strings within those short stories. Not my favorite, but not the, I don't know. It's not my favorite, but it's also like she's been on a run where minor characters really have been getting killed off like
Hmm.
every book. So that didn't happen this time, which was nice for once because I get very attached to my
Yeah.
characters and I want them to live. So and also Mercy has been like attacked by volcano gods and fae and vampires, and she's running out of people that could possibly want to attack her.
Yeah.
But it also goes more into the werewolf politics. So I like Patricia Biggs. She's one of my favorites. I also another one that series that I really really like is oh, I'm not going to remember the name of the series, but the last one in it is Chaos Choreography by Sean McGuire. She's got a bunch of different series. One is just Fae. This one is like cryptozoologists. So I really, really like that one. It reminds me a lot of like Patricia Weird's one series. So really, really not Patricia Weird. That's not who I'm thinking of. Same, I don't know. Anyway, so there's cryptoids and there's this family and they try to get along with the cryptoids and there's these other evil guys from England who are trying to destroy the cryptoids.
Mm.
So this is like the fourth or fifth in the series. I really like it. There's talking mice that worship the humans, which always cracks me up because everything becomes like a day of festival. So it's like the day that she was told to shut the door for the 50th time. Like you can tell that they're drawing. The mice just repeat, like, I've told you to do that 50 times, and becomes like a day of
You know
festival
what
in
that
their
reminds
religion.
me of in Toy Story, where all the little aliens with
Yes.
the
Yeah.
claw.
Mm-hmm. Totally. So, that was really good. And then I read the entire Karma series by Donna Augustine. It is this woman dies. She's a lawyer and she dies and she gets offered the position of Karma. So she's the person who
Dude, that would be awesome.
and there's other oh, I found my totally forgot that was back there. I told you I would. She there's Fate and there's like the woman who controls the black cats that come
Oh,
cross your path. There's a guy that controls the ravens that can cross your path. There's Luck is a character. Um, Death is a character. So it's a humorous take on paranormal
that's cool.
stuff. Yes, but the role of Fate and the role of Karma, it's just really, really funny to me. It's almost Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy-ish type humor. And then I am about to start listening to The Magicians by Lev Grossman. It's gotten kind of mixed reviews, but I watched the first. They made it into a sci-fi series, and I watched the first of that, and I'm intrigued. So I have
I
it
was gonna say, Left
from my
Grossman is
library
more
to listen to.
sci-fi. It's not your typical wheelhouse with what you generally like. I've
I do
read a few of
sci-fi
his
occasionally.
books, and
Yeah,
I hope you enjoy it.
we'll see. It gets very mixed reviews on Amazon, which sometimes is the sign of a very good book.
Yeah,
So,
it's like art.
because
It's meant to make you think, and some people don't like certain. People having an opinion is a reaction, and that's what
yeah,
good novels, good books do.
yeah, definitely. We are going to be in Portland in 2 days,
48 hours from now.
which I'm very excited about because I have all the time in the world because I'm
Yes.
off this week. But Leslie
I
is,
am excited.
yes,
I'm feeling kind of a little bit crummy right now, a little under the weather, and so I just hope that's gone by the time I get stuck on a tin can with a couple hundred other people.
oh,
But I
maybe
am
someone
looking forward to being in
beside you can
Portland.
offer you drugs again.
Yeah, really, some random stranger. Just, would you like a downer? Would you like a Xanax? Sure, I'll take your drugs from a stranger. That's awesome. Um,
That was hysterical. What trip were we on
I
that?
don't know. That was
I
several
don't
years
even remember.
back.
That was
Um,
so long ago.
But yeah, so
But the
we will
plane
be
was
in
making all
Portland.
these noises.
Yeah.
That's why.
We will be in Portland. We do have a meetup at Happy Nuts, right?
Yes,
Thursday
Happy
night.
Nuts. Thursday night from 5 until 8. Come for as long or as little as
Mm-hmm.
you want. I understand that it's a school work night,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of stinks. And it's also 17th.
St.
I
Patrick's Day?
Yes, there you
Oh,
go.
okay. That should be fun.
So that'll be interesting. But I thought it would be an enjoyable thing, and we want to meet y'all. And if you'll let me know that you're coming, I'll bring you a small gift. So,
Hmm. You're
because we
so
have Knit
fancy.
Girls tape measures that we can give.
Oh, cool.
I might have given those to my class last week too.
Sweet.
FYI. Getting stuff out of my house.
And thank you for everybody who's recommended a place for us in Portland.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
think we'll have to look up anything on Urban Spoon for the entire time that we're there because we've gotten some great recommendations.
Lots of good food recommendations for
I don't
sure.
know if I would call it good in the meaning of healthy, but I think we will be pleasantly stuffed the entire time that we're there. And
She's
that's great.
always
And we have some great places to check out for retreat centers as well.
yeah.
So hopefully we'll come back from there with some really good options on what we want to do for a spring 2017 retreat.
Hopefully.
And again, a genuine thank you to all of our Patreon supporters who are funding our trip to go and take a look at this wonderful city and see where we can host a bunch of folks.
It's gonna be lots of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I will be so the week after that, the weekend after, my parents are coming in town for Easter. Super excited. And then the week after that, which is the week of my birthday, just throwing that out there, uh, I will be at DFW. So I'm super
Yeah.
excited. So that's going to happen. I'll be at the Friday night. Um, Sylvia Harding is doing a lecture on mending throughout the ages. I'll be there. So if you see me there, come say hi. I'll be in Sylvia Harding's Rain Shadow class. I know my friend will be in that class with me. Renee will be in that class with me.
Oh,
It's gonna be lots
awesome.
of fun. I have to cast on like 400 stitches though
Oof.
before I go. It's like three something, 348, something like
You can
that.
do that on the plane. You'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah, Friday morning on the plane. I have to pick out my yarn. I think I'm going to use some, I don't know, maybe some plucky, and then I have to find beads too. And a teeny tiny crochet hook, but I'll bring super floss probably instead of that.
Yeah.
That's my preferred method. So if you see me at DFW, come say hi. It's gonna be lots of fun. It's my first time going to that one, so I will probably look very confused most of the time. And I'm gonna get to see Liz Dalai Lama, which makes me
Aww.
always happy. So
She's
that's
crazy,
gonna
but
be
we
fun.
love her crazy
We
self.
do have a craft all the things running right now.
Mm-hmm.
It will, yes. We will have.
I'm sorry.
I don't even know it. Like your sound and audio just like totally fast forwarded past what you're. I don't know what's
I know,
happening.
and then you end up looking confused, and that just makes me laugh. Because I'm a
I'm so
terrible person.
confused. Whatever.
Yes, so, craft
Craft
all
all
the
the
things.
things, which has been tons of fun. That is going until March 31st. We have 4 prizes for that. We have those cool Another Crafty Girl worsted weight in business time. We have this cool, gorgeous red umbrella yarn
Mm-hmm.
in the sangria colorway. It's her Victoria worsted weight.
So beautiful.
We have some awesome batlings from Hobbledehoy, which if you don't spin, I will spin for you. And then we have a stitch stopper with a little embroidered sheep
From Jelby.
from Jelby.
Yes, and we might
So,
pick up some things in Portland as well.
oh yeah, definitely. So I think that is about it. Is there anything else we need to talk about?
No. Next
Okay.
week, as is the
Standard
precedent
for
this
traveling.
month, yeah, our show will be late. It will be at least Monday night before we record. So, don't panic if it's Wednesday before you see an episode. Um, I think that's it. If you see us in Portland,
Just hanging out, please stop us.
yes, please feel free. I mean, we love to meet people, and we're stoked about seeing folks at yarn shops and at eateries and everywhere. We're stoked about going to Portland. It's going to be awesome. We're very excited for it. I just have a lot of stuff I have to get done before it happens. So, I think that's it. You said you're done, right? All right, we're done talking. So, y'all have a fantastic week, and we'll see some of you in Portland, and the rest of you will see you next week.
Bye, y'all.